Hello and welcome to the video. I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method, and today we're going to be going over 4 ultra-catchy major pentatonic scale guitar licks. Now, I love the major pentatonic scale. To me, it contains some of the most emotive and heartfelt notes that you can pull out when you're feeling vulnerable and you really want to speak that through your guitar. And speaking of vulnerable, I shaved recently and I took maybe 15 years off of my face, so I'm feeling pretty vulnerable right now. Starting to think that was a mistake. Anyway, the major pentatonic scale is great. All of these licks borrow notes from the major pentatonic scale. So let's go ahead and break them down. These are all in the key of E. And as I said, we're using the major pentatonic scale. So I'm going to show you the E major pentatonic scale. Now, if you're not yet familiar with the major pentatonic scale, but you're familiar with the minor pentatonic scale, you'll notice I played pretty much the exact same shape just now. But what made it major were the notes that I essentially landed on, right? So this is in the key of E. We're using the E major pentatonic scale. So I'm focusing on landing on those E notes, okay? Starting with 12th fret on the low E string, and then 9th fret on the G string, and then 12th fret on the high E string. So when I'm playing through the scale, you know, it really, like, that's what lends to the major pentatonic, the major sound, right? Just it sounds happier, right? As opposed to playing a minor pentatonic. So this is the scale I'm going to be using for these licks. So starting with lick number 1, we pretty much start right within the E major pentatonic scale shape, where we're going to slide in from the 9th fret on the D string to the 11th fret. And then we're going to catch that E note there, which is the 9th fret on the G string. And then what we're going to do is we're going to venture outside of the major pentatonic box that I just showed you, but it's all using the same notes. Then we're going to slide from the 11th fret on the G string to the 13th fret. And then we're going to catch the 12th fret on the B string. So we're going. And then we're going to play the 14th fret on the B string, then the 12th fret. And then we're going to slide down from the 13th fret on the G string down to the 11th fret. Then we're landing on the 9th fret here. And then we're going to do a little hammer on from the 9th fret to the 11th fret. And then back to the 9th fret. And then we're going to slide back from the 11th fret to the 13th fret. And then we're going to catch that 12th fret on the B string. So it's a lot of kind of back and forth and like kind of slidey, which gives it that really, it gives it a nice character. So what I love about the major pentatonic scale, again, is like if I'm really feeling like I want to tug at the heartstrings, like I turn to the major pentatonic scale. So you're going to notice with all of these licks, when they're played to the backing track, they just have like a happier, kind of more emotive sound. So that's lick number 1. Lick number 2 goes like this. So again, this ventures a little bit outside of the box that we're working with, but it's all notes contained within the scale. So we're starting with the 12th fret on the high E string, then the 14th fret, and then the 16th fret. And I like to alternate pick that so I can do it quickly, you know, down, up, down. And then 12th fret to the 14th fret on the B string. I just like, to me, that's a very vocal sounding line. You know, it just has like a lot of character to it. And then right from there, we're going to take our first finger and it's going to catch the 12th fret of the high E string and then slide down to the 9th fret. So we're going. And then we're going to do 12th fret on the B string, then 9th fret, and then 11th fret on the G string, and then, oh, sorry, we're going to do, after the 11th fret on the G string, 12th fret on the B string, and then 9th fret on the high E string, and then finally 9th fret on the B string. So it's this kind of cool, like sort of bouncing around on notes inside the major pentatonic box, but it creates a nice melody. So it's I find that when you change the order of notes in the scale, that's when it starts to get musical. You're not really just playing notes in order of the scale, which is more of an exercise than it is actually making music, you know? So what we're doing is we're taking notes within the scale and then just arranging them in a certain way to make it musical. So here's lick number 2 all together. Lick number 3 is a fun one. It goes like this. So I love those like slidey double stops, you know, they just sound very classic. You know, they're just a classic way of playing lead guitar. So I start with the 12th fret on the B and the high E string, and I'm using my 3rd finger to basically bar on both of those strings. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide up from the 12th fret to the 14th fret and back. Now, if you're not quite comfortable with your 3rd finger doing that, and let's say you want to use your first or your 2nd finger, you can do that too. Personally, I recommend using the 3rd finger if you can do it, because it just makes it easier to go right into the next part, which is this. So what I'm doing is 12th fret on the B string and then 11th fret on the G string using my 1st and my 3rd finger like that, right? And then I'm sliding up 2 frets. So I'm sliding up from 11 and 12 here to 13 and 14 and then back. So it's just repeating the same idea as the first part of the lick. All right, again, very classic sounding lead line. And then coming up next, we got another slide. So we're going to slide from the 11th fret on the G string to the 13th fret. Then we're going to catch the 12th fret on the B string. Then we're sliding back down. A lot of slides going on. I just think slides are very expressive, especially when you're using notes like in the major pentatonic scale. All right, so we're sliding up from the 11th fret to the 13th fret on the G string, catching that 12th fret on the B string, and then we're sliding down from the 13th fret back to the 11th fret, then catching the 9th fret here on the G string, and then a hammer on from 9 to 11, and then we're playing 9 again, and then 9 on the D string, and that's how we end the lick. So when you're using your 1st finger, I just like to sort of roll it up a little bit from the G string to the D string since it's on the same fret. So it could feel a little awkward, but you know, you get used to it. Just kind of roll your finger up. So when we're going, so rather than having to like D fret and then refret, it's like just kind of roll it on up there. And that's lick number 3. Lick number 4 is really cool. It kind of reminds me of like a Billy Gibbons meets Steve Vai, which is an odd combination, but it works in this case. It goes like this. So it starts off very Billy Gibbons, right? It's a classic Billy Gibbons like 6th run, right? We're starting from the 11th fret on the G string, sliding up to the 13th fret. You'll notice we're in this territory a lot. Like, we're pretty much, like I said, we're playing the E major pentatonic scale, but we're just venturing outside of this particular box. But these are all notes within the scale, except for one. This one's in the natural major scale, but it just works perfectly for this lick. So we're sliding from 11 to 13 on the G string, and then catching the 12th fret on the high E string, and then we're sliding down right here to that note in the major scale, which is 11th fret of the high E string. So we're going, and then with our 1st finger, we're catching the 11th fret of the G string. And then we're going to be playing the 11th fret on the high E string again, and then sliding it down to the 9th fret. And then playing the 9th fret on the G string. So it could be a little bit of a challenge because we're skipping strings, right? Or we're skipping the B string in this case. So just keep that in mind when you're playing this, right? You want to avoid playing the B string for this particular run of the lick at all costs, right? So you can even hybrid pick it if you want, if you're comfortable with that. You know, use your pick to play the G string and then use your ring finger to play the high E string. That's how I normally play it, to be honest, because hybrid picking is a big part of my style, but you know, you could easily just use your pick for it. Right? And then finally, this is where it starts to get into Steve Vai territory. We're going to slide up to the 12th fret on the B string. And then we're going to catch the 9th fret on the B strings. That right there, that's very Steve Vai. Like, sliding is a big part of his sound, you know? Especially when it comes to like kind of wider intervals, you know, in the, especially in the major pentatonic scale. It gives it this kind of Eastern sound. So we're going... And you can use your pinky or your third finger. It's probably easier to use your third finger to slide up to the 12th fret there. And then you can either pull off to the 9th fret here, or you can pick both notes. Really doesn't matter. You know, every time I teach licks, you know, I'd like to leave an invitation open for you to make it your own in however way you want to. Right? And then now we're going to go... It's a nice, relieving, easy part of this lick where we're just hammering on from the 9th fret to the 11th fret on the G string. Then we're playing the 9th fret of the B string. And then we're playing 11, 9 on the G string. So we're concluding it there, which is on an E note. So the whole lick goes like this. So in the beginning of the video, you heard me play these licks to a backing track, which the link for this backing track will be in the description box, so you can play along as well. But what I also want to show you is that not only do these licks work really well over the backing track, they work well pretty much anywhere you put them. So the order that I play them in is just an example. You can totally jumble up the order into however you want, and it's going to work over this backing track. So let me demonstrate. So I started off by playing the licks in the order like in the very beginning of the video. Then I just started to sort of get creative and just kind of place them wherever. I repeated some of the licks sometimes. You know, I changed up the order. Either way, they just really fit well in this backing track. So I really encourage you to experiment and then find out what placements of the track, you know, like what chords and the chord progression happening in the track, do these licks really pop out to you? And then definitely, you know, feel free to make it your own and start playing them that way. So those are 4 ultra-catchy major pentatonic scale guitar licks. In the description box of this video, you'll find the link to the backing track, and you'll also find a link to download the tab for each of these licks. So if you enjoyed this lesson, be sure to smack that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you can stay up to date on all the future lessons we got coming at you. And boy, do we have a lot. Which reminds me, I have a gift for you. A free guitar cheat sheet that'll show you how to instantly solo in any key. So today, when we learn these licks in the key of E, you're going to be able to take those licks and adapt them to every single musical key imaginable by using this cheat sheet. So be sure to click on that in the description box as well. So that about wraps it up for this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I'm Eddie with Guitar Mastery Method. I hope you've enjoyed this lesson as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.